Changed needs little to no introduction. It is one of the most infamous furry games out there and started a weird subculture of furries. It is well known for its suspicious nature and lots, and I mean lots, of goo, along with the silly Puro. The game itself outside of the community is just strange to its core. It is an RPG maker game without any RPG fighting elements. No going up to any furry and smacking them in the mouth. Just walking around and running away from monsters like it is a horror game. Well, this game is a horror game, just for straight normal people. Changed is one of those games with a fuzzy line between pornographic and just a video game. This is due to the game having decent gameplay elements and a somewhat intriguing story, but also having silly moments. However, it's not hard to figure out what the developer wanted the game to be once you play Changed Special Edition, but we'll jump those horses when we get to them. So, to really put this game into perspective for you, I'll go over the entirety of Changed, explain the lore, and tell you my feelings about this game. But before we summarize, I'm gonna warn you real quick of spoilers! I'm gonna spoil the entirety of the game Changed. If you homo thugs don't want the plot of this furry game spoiled, then go buy it on Steam for a smooth, crisp $5 bill. Also, if you like this silly little video, go ahead and leave a little sub for ya boy. There's just one singular smack, and it helps out a ton. Anywho, back to the furry game. Change starts with you waking up in a test tube and an ominous machine blaring. You eventually get tossed out of the human-sized test tube and find yourself in a scientific-looking place. The door is locked and you have to hit a button in the vent to open it. When you go to open the vent, you get jump scared by a rogue slime that escaped from Terraria and evolved into a furry. You quickly flush him down the drain and escape to find that this place appears to be in disarray and overrun by monsters. The setup of the game is decent, but not the best. The beginning puzzle and environment shows you that this game has a lot more of that show, don't tell gameplay, where you have to figure things out along the way while you're epically gaming. This is more or less presented through the pictures of people getting transferred, I hate myself for using this term, and notes people left behind before they got nay-nayed on. After you figure out the puzzle of looking at the large squares on the floor, you get to the next area, which then quickly leads you to figure out that this game's basic movement mechanics and escaping from the stupid rich cat is a bit difficult to deal with for no other reason than for it to be difficult. You then get another mechanic of the game, which is the occasional button mashing fest, just so you can fight off the slime attacking you. After you finish the cat section and avoid getting the bad touch by the white pudding, you find yourself in a room with flickering lights. The mechanic here being a Squid Games! Red light, green light of sorts. Move when the lights are off, and pause just before they turn back on, so that these black latex creatures do not notice and jump you. This section is pretty simple if you're patient, but can get irritating when you start miscalculating things. After the on light, off light, you get to the next section, which is actually pretty fun and interesting. Well, to me at least. Once you get past the normal office area, you find yourself in a black latex cave that seems to have been made by these monsters, filled with crystals, ice, and flying latex ghouls. These goons quickly find a liking to you and want to toy with you, so they only move when you move. So you have to find the precise movements to get away from them and not get overwhelmed and rushed down. Mainly use the ice to outpace them, since technically you're not moving. And try not to slide yourself into radioactive dragon crystals. After this fun section, you get to the not so fun. A Dark Souls boss battle. Normal human being versus big odd gay dragon. Or as my friends put it, daddy.
Is it mommy or is it daddy? Does it have tits? I can't
Okay,
tell.
Buster. This is the first boss battle of the many in this game. These boss battles can be very, very irritating. And this one in particular can feel so dependent on RNG. This is because the crystals under your feet appear in what I believe is a random direction and can really mess you up if you get things wrong. After getting past all these creatures, your character has a moment to actually be a character and break it down due to the craziness of the situation. He gets so overwhelmed due to the presumed exhaustion that he just passes out right there on the spot. Pure, unadulterated Mimir. Soon you wake up with oranges, tangerines, lemons, some sort of fruit next to you. This new area you are plopped into is pretty interesting, but also a mess. There is an area with a crow you have to walk by to get the code off of a wall to unlock the next area, which is just moon turned 90 degrees, getting you 3002. Clever. You then go through the new area, dodging all the ceiling and floor sludge, and go through the doors to a library. As you enter, you see a dismembered tail, and you quickly find out that this ball of trash is fast as crap and will hunt you down. From this section of running alone, you will quickly get the point that you will be seeing the main menu more than you would like. From playing this game, the reasons for it being difficult is due to the fast and precise nature of it, combined with the more slippery RPG game controls. It doesn't lead to being for the newborn toddler gamers in the crowd. Well, that along with the applied smashing here doesn't help, but that is neither here nor there. The solution here as well to get away from the tail also shows another problem I have with the game, and that is the absolutely insane solutions to puzzles. Well, the solutions themselves aren't insane. The main problem is having to figure them out because there is often little to no hints given on how to solve these stupid things. After hiding behind a plant to stop the tail from turning into a kitsune, you go back to the library and find the main character of the game. Well, not the main character, but he might as well be, with how popular he is. Is that Puro? Oh my god, it's Puro! Oh my god! Anywho, you find a face that is actually friendly in this world of monsters in the shape of a black latex creature, the exact breed of the ones you just outran before in the Squid Game room. Puro is a latex creature that, somehow, taught himself to read and speak via the books in the library. He's the one who left the not-so-well-written notes for you on your adventure towards the library, and is the sweetest soul. Well, when he is not trying to eat you alive, that is. But that is a spoiler, and we'll talk about that later down the line. Puro then gives you the code to the door that was previously locked and presumably leads towards the outside world. When you go back to the 90-degree moon room and unlock the door, you look and see that the exit is blocked with an insane amount of white sticky substance. So much white stuff that Crusher 21 would be jealous. Golly!
300 black men for only £2! Yes, sir!
After finding this new observation, the tail you escaped earlier comes back for a rematch, and you get more fun trying to juke and escape this monstrous tail. After you escape the tail, and the female creature you get jumped by next,
Furry, get off.
you go back to Puro with this new information of the main entrance being blocked. And he essentially just tells you, tough luck, Buster, go find yourself another way out. And you have to do more evading gay furries to get to the next segment of the game, the ventilation shafts. This area here is Puro's main resting area, since he has more or less outed himself from his black latex society. You soon have a nice, sad talk with Puro about just life stuff and not knowing what to do with being weaker than everyone else in his black latex ring, and being generally terrified when you were about to get murked by the tail. However, this talk is just for one quick moment though, as you must continue adventuring through the facility to get to the outside world. The vents are just aight, not good, not bad. You have to wander through the vents and try not to step on El Milk, along with trying to not get FNAF jump scared by a snake and get touched by this one chick. This next section though is just pure not fun. It is interesting in theory, but not so fun in execution. You have to go through this room that is filled with toxic furry air, and will turn you into a furry if you do not sit in front of these ventilation fans. These fans are pretty fine, except for the fact that the timing to get to them is tighter than your mom's, nothing. Add in this dang latex pup on a punt like a football, and there's a new hole in my monitor now, from how infuriating the section can be. After that god-forsaken section, you get to progress to the next section, which is just pure oceanic madness. You go ahead with Puro through these waters and find yourself the next enemies you have to avoid. Sharks! The enemies here are interesting to avoid. You can either plan 15 steps ahead and make like a big giant blueprint on how to lure and kite these sharks, or you can just shoot for it, making it decently fun to get past these guys. All that fun though will quickly end as you find yourself getting jumped by the next boss in the game, the Tiger Shark. This Tiger Shark boss battle is hard to say the least. Being slowed down by the water and then also having to outrun a large amount of sharks is a huge problem. You either learn the pattern of the shark's dashes or become a part of the shark fan club. After you get past this atrocious boss fight and wish to have some sort of downtime, you get another one! Don't you love this video game? This boss fight is somewhat easier to play, but harder to understand. This fight is versus the Tiger Shark Sugar Daddy, Squid Dog. This quote-unquote fight, you have to evade the tentacles, insert hentai joke here, in this small square, make him hit himself with his own tentacle paws. Once you hit him with all the tentacles, he buggers off and you proceed to the next room to turn on the power. Once the power is turned on, you get information that you've been locked away in this chamber here for 5 years. While our character has a mental breakdown, Let us break down the lore we have gotten from this game so far, shall we? So far in this game, you learn that someone has kidnapped you for possible experimentation, due to the whole world falling apart because of some virus that has killed most of the population. Everyone then hid away in this facility to start making a cure, but there didn't appear to be any, besides just one option. Furries. By rejecting humanity and embracing the gays, by changing their genes to just not be weak to the virus in the first place, they live. However, the gene experimentation started going wrong as robotic experiments started going free and transforming everyone in the facility to be brainless and one of them. After you mentally busted down, you go meet up with Puro after this, who, depending on how you treated him, will either swallow you alive or be friends with you, and decide to help you on your journey. I.e., you have to say thank you to him every time you can, or else he'll dunk on you. You two then go to the final portion of the game, with the balconies and areas full of white stuff. This area, just like the rest of the game, is decent. It has some really friggin' difficult sections and some really hard to figure out things, along with some interesting and funny things, like just absolutely annihilating this random monster hunting you down with a locker, and Puro just being your buddy old pal and actually fighting for you. Well, trying to. Once you figure out how to open this one locked door and get past the rivaling white latex creatures, you find a computer with cameras that has been monitoring you this whole time. After going through the new unlocked door, you find the person that has been watching you this whole time. A crazed scientist named Dr. K. This man was locked away for a long while in here, suffering, trying to make a cure, and had to watch everyone he knows and loves die or get taken by these creatures. Anywho, he locks you away because you have the virus! So he cannot let you escape. These words echo through our hollow shell of a character as he leaves. You then have to escape this lab, and this next area is actually pretty interesting. The main puzzle of having to guide yourself and this adorable Roomba on these buttons here is actually pretty cool. The only struggle I had was finding the sprint key.
Is this serious?
Hold on, I need to look up a YouTube tutorial. Oh my god, me when I forget you can sprint in this game?
Jesus Christ.
I forgot!
Wait, there's no way. There's no way. Playing through this without sprint the entire time as well.
It's because literally for like the previous half of the game you could not sprint. You couldn't sprint through the white sticky substance. You couldn't sprint through the ocean. You couldn't sprint at all.
Wait, sprint? I want to see it. Oh my god.
Yes, I wasted an entire hour of my life here trying to get past this without the sprint key. This puzzle is really fun and interesting, and only felt like it went on so long for me because of my game journalist-esque gameplay. After you escape, you will come upon one of 3 endings. The main ending I, and many others got, was the one where you go outside after escaping the lab and hear a loud bang. After you go to investigate this loud sound, you will find Puro's mask broken and he is a pile of mush now. Dr. K then locks the door behind you and proceeds to knock you out with ease. This scientist here must be the next Hulk with his strength, a dude with no fighting experience knocking you out in one punch like he is Saitama, even when you have a weapon to defend yourself with. You then come to find yourself as Dr. K's next experiment, turning you into a furry too and keeping you in the facility forever so you can never spread the virus. That is the main Bob-omb ending, but there is more. How you get past Dr. K murdering you and Puro? I don't know. They say to show Puro more love, but I've shown this man all the love in the world and he still won't accept me. So there's a good chance you might be seeing some other YouTubers footage here from here on out, because I'm a lazy sack of crap. Shout out to Nico the Circle and Riskrim for being amazing YouTubers, even though I'm probably one who needs a shout out from them. If you show Puro enough affection throughout the game, he will go Super Saiyan and pummel Dr. K, leaving both him and Puro passed out on the ground. You check on Puro and he's alive. You and Puro quickly get up and start running for the hills to try to leave the building, unfortunately not throwing Dr. K off the building so he never bothers you again. As you start going through the hallways, another latex being attacks you, forcing the mashing section. Thankfully, Puro actually comes in clutch and just grabs the latex off your head and throws it away, saving me and others from the fate of death right before you actually get to save.
Happen. Why'd you go looking there? Oh, you guys want to see that? No, 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 I didn't save, I didn't save, I didn't save!
The next puzzle is confusing. You have to do coordinates, figure out what room is first, how many boxes there are in each room, and then how many boxes there are in each room is 1 digit for the combo.
This one has the number here, 1.
After this is done, you then get yourself amongst more of the cum zone. where Puro gets to continue to prove how useful and nice of a character he is by actually just launching you over the white latex creatures that surround you. As soon as he goes to throw you again, he just insults you by calling you fat and large. The next black latex area, Puro tries to stay behind and away from it due to the aggressive nature of his own kind. So you end up going to the next area mainly by yourself. This next area is just a huge ice rink and is an interesting puzzle to solve. It expands on the ice you had to deal with earlier in the game by making the entire room just covered in it. So when you make a move, you cannot stop unless you run into something. So you gotta try not to touch the transformation crystals? The transformation crystals and get around the entire room to the other side, in which Puro just walks across the ice, making us rather salty that he didn't help us cross the entire minefield of crystals. The next room is even more icy, but surprisingly, even more barren, as Puro points out. The mechanic of this room is just more ice puzzles, but the ice below you turns into a crystal after you walk over it, making a new area to stop yourself and also making a new roadblock for yourself. After getting trapped on the next thing of ice, Puro just picks you up and transports you to the next room. The next room, though, is the final challenge of the game, the emotional climax of the story. Dr. K comes back into the room, and he isn't looking for a fight. He is there to spit more bars about the truth of the outside world. He insists on our main character staying in due to the fact that he does 100% have the virus, and if he goes outside, he could bring the end of the world again. That is the main reason he didn't let him out, even though he knew he was there the whole time. Puro fights back with arguments of morals and that the human and Puro could just start a life together as bros in the outside world. But his words do fall weak due to the wall of evidence that is the true apocalypse in the outside world. Soon, you get a decision between the two. Stay inside and save the world by containing the virus within the complex, or go outside with Puro anyway, and just chill and have some beers with the lads. If you decide to stay, you and Puro have a heartfelt goodbye as you two know you will never see each other again. Then Puro leaves and it's just you and Dr. K, leaving you to just follow him into the break room for some coffee and talk. Better than the bad Puro dead ending, I think. If you decide to leave instead, you find yourself in the beautiful outside world, admiring every little plant and speck of dirt, walking around with Puro until you two find yourself on a roof, staring at the sun together as it sets. Puro tries to talk with you about feeling so great looking at the sun, but our character lies there unresponsive, presumably dead from the disease. Well, all these endings are rather sad, aren't they? However, there is one more left, and what I think is probably the true ending. The true ending, it's actually pretty cool how you have to do it. You just have to deny all the options handed to you, and Dr. K comes up with a different solution to all the problems. The solution is to just become an anther, so you won't die from the virus or spread it. You go to a test table and get fueled with, what do they call them in the industry? Drugs. You wake up due to Puro's shenanigans and find out Dr. K has also helped out Puro too by giving me a host. Dr. K then says his goodbyes to you guys and sends you two on your merry way. Let's take a moment to talk about your assistants throughout the game. The Puro. Puro's addition to this game is really nice, and I do wish they did more with his character. The internal conflict of him feeling weak and needing a host because he is a failed test sample is amazing. The conflict with himself makes him an interesting character. The only issue I had was he felt like an immature child yet also a smart, capable adult. The blend of the two can feel very odd sometimes because you'll babysit him and excuse what he does like he is a kid because he doesn't speak English well, but he does know right from wrong, along with the being height of a full-grown adult. Now, onto the only other character in this game. Dr. K is an interesting antagonist. I just wish he was introduced earlier, which is one of the things that I remember from Change Special Edition doing right. His just stereotypical incel scientist nature made the game more interesting, knowing you have someone you are going against. Introduces the nice idea of morals versus the greater good. Like the old trolley question, your best friend dies or you kill every grandma in the United States. Since for most of the game, you are more or less just wandering around with like only one big question at play. How do I get out? Instead of the many questions that should be necessary in these types of settings and games. In Amnesia Dark Descent, for example, you aren't only trying to figure your way out of an abandoned castle and survive against the monsters, but you are also trying to figure out what happens to everyone in the castle, what led to the destruction of the castle. What is this amnesia you have and why can't you remember anything? Why do you have these notes for yourself littered around everywhere? What are these monsters and what are they doing? And so on. Changed is an odd game. It has a lot of weird things at play with the furry trash and surprisingly difficult gameplay. There are some interesting puzzles and Puro's a delight. However, there's a lot of bad with the adventure too. The story is very, very hit or miss, and the transfers in this game are very much for one audience and one audience only. The thing is though, the unforeseen difficulty spike in this game really holds this game together as an actual RPG maker game. It makes the game interesting and tries to slap itself into the rage game category of video games. It allowed me to stay invested in this game and trying to get past its difficulty. The difficulty is the main thing that kept me and others interested or rejected by the game. The difficulty isn't really for everyone, it makes the game more for the epic gamers in the crowd, which, judging by my amazing gameplay, I am. Now, to quickly say everything I said in a big old nutty shell, it's aight. Not much good, a lot of bad, story is mid, fetish stuff is fetish stuff, Puro is cool, and difficulty is cool if you're the type to be into hardcore games. That is all there is for today, and if you guys like this covering of Changed, maybe I'll visit the gayer and more updated Changed Special Edition. Let me know down in the comments below if you do want me to cover this game. And if you like what I'm doing on this tiny little channel, make this channel larger by leaving a sub. It helps me out a lot and allows me to flex my 20 subscribers on my friends. Thank you for watching, keep your head up, and have a good day.